What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the One Punch Podcast, episode 6. I'm your host, One Punch. With me, as always, my partner in crime here with me, my ride till I die. Let me introduce you properly.
Introductions are too slow. You gotta get right into the content.
Sorry. Coach, people have been pissed off about our last video. We ruffled some feathers, if you will. What's going on?
What's going on is, I'm pretty sure they didn't listen to the words I was speaking and the insights I was giving about that card in particular, which, I'm glad that people liked the podcast and liked the episode. And I'm glad they're commenting all this, like, negativity or, like, I'll stick to my card, like, overflowing affection, or, like, saying how I'm complaining about inconsistencies while also not playing overflowing affection. What is it called? Overflowing affection.
You better know it.
I'm like, in the podcast, okay, I literally tell people I do not cut the card. I tell people, think about how many copies you want to run so you can better your deck and when are you playing it. And I literally give you a layout of like when you should be playing it, when you should not be playing it. Just tips and tricks on how to use the card better and not just mindlessly put 4 copies in. And guess what? A lot of you guys probably listening do not play on the Gundam Discord. If you're not playing on the Gundam Discord, that means you're not getting, 30 games in every single day, if not like 200 games in a week, which a lot of people on there are getting. Shout out to Jinzo, Luna's been playing, everybody else. Echo's been playing a lot of games. I've been playing. So, Sonic the Snake, he just hit me up after that. He loved the podcast. He works 12-hour shifts, and he's like, dude, if I don't have that podcast out, then my day sucks. So, Sonic, this is for you. Get the podcast out, hopefully earlier than Friday. Maybe get a 2 podcast in 1 week banger, who knows. So yeah, I'm glad people enjoyed and were pretty pissed at that last episode.
I think I know what you're saying. Like, you didn't say the card was bad. You really didn't. All right, I don't want to say it was like clickbaity or anything, because it's not like we were trying to get people to click on just so we can completely change the narrative. But you were basically saying like this card isn't as important as it seems to be. I think was the gist of it, and people lost their shit.
Yeah, I'm just trying to help people play the appropriate number of them and play that card better. The cards in your deck, it's a solid card, but play the card at the appropriate times and run the appropriate numbers depending on how you craft your own deck. And guess what? Almost every single one of my decks that I play does have that card in it, but the number varies down to 1 through 4 to 0 even. All right.
I like this has the most dislikes on any video we made so far. We have 42 likes, 9 dislikes. Of course, YouTube hides that because people get their feelings hurt. I guess that it's
builders like me
when it's shown. So what I would like to do is just run through some of my favorite things, okay? Because I think some of these we're not gonna go through every comment, because you guys actually really, and me and Coach really do appreciate the hell out of it when you guys interact with us and these comments. We appreciate every single comment and we read every single one. Believe me too. Coach will send me a text. He'll hit me up on Discord. With a screenshot of a comment. I'll do the same thing to him when a comment really tickles our fancy. We can't help it. We just love that some of the things that you guys say make us laugh. They just really tickle our ribs in just the funniest ways, okay? Tickle our ribs, is that a thing? I'm gonna stop talking and I'm gonna read these comments, okay? Some of my favorite anyway. I do like Sinister Ryzen 8111. He just said, yeah, I'll stick to my overflowing affections. Thanks. 12 upvotes. He has the most upvotes in the comment section. I don't think he trusts your input, Coach, which always kind of makes me laugh, because what was the other guy that this guy man, some of these guys so hard on. I'm not gonna pronounce your name correctly, so I'm not even gonna try, but I will put it on screen right now. He cuts the consistency card, then complains about consistency problems. Coach, I gotta agree with him, dude. What the fuck?
No, see, the deck is more consistent. My version of Wing deck is more consistent without overflowing affection.
Yeah.
And that is a hard fact. Not an opinion, that is a fact of my deck. Okay, that's how it works.
And how I work is I just gaslight Coach. Coach, you gonna let him talk to you like that? This guy made me laugh, Piers. Yes. Oh. Yes, only you can dissect the game because you are the Rain Man of all games you touch. Glad we have someone like you that can do all the hard work for the rest of us. This podcast is satire, right? And And the way you're talking about Star Wars Unlimited is very clear. You've never played it before, you mother. Coach, this guy thinks he knows what he's talking about, dude. Pierce,
Oh.
do you have any idea who Coach? Does he even know who you are?
Probably not. Probably not. But online knows who I am. Online doesn't listen to the podcast, but online knows. Topping events, having thousands of dollars of Star Wars Unlimited content, or not content, but product. Signed cards, all that jazz, going to events and stuff, and then, everybody on the Discord server who plays Gundam knows who I am, and they value my opinion, and many of them whose decks that I get my fingers into and help, and they always come in and ask, hey man, well, how can I figure this out, fix this up, and just recently Brew Holmes just went and won his locals because I fixed a few ratios, added a few cards, took out a few cards, and he went 3-0. And so anybody else who needs help, I'm in the Discord all the time. Drop a comment, be like, hey, how many of these should I run? Anything you need, I'm always around. I do this full time. This is my job. So somebody saying that I haven't played Star Wars Unlimited and don't know what I'm talking about is clearly wrong, since my clients need need my insight, and for me to get the insight, I got to play a lot of games, 50 games a day sometimes.
So listen, man, we do this for fun. We do it for fun. It's primarily a podcast where we get to just shoot the shit with one another. A couple guys just doing guy shit. We're just talking about a card game. It's not that serious, and a lot of people take it seriously, which is fine. Like we love that. That's part of the fun. We do to an extent too. I mean, we're doing a podcast. We take time out of our lives and day to put a podcast together so that other people can listen to it, because enough people really enjoy it. But it's at the end of the day, let's remember, like, it's not that big a deal. It's really not. But it is great that so many people are invested, that they get emotional, which is great because it gets them to comment on our video, and that just kind of shows that there's a lot of support with this game. Like, holy shit, a lot more than I ever thought possible. I go back to our first podcast. You weren't even planning on playing Gundam. You weren't interested. Did you say it looked slow? You didn't think it looked good? I forgot what your original.
Yeah, it looked too basic and slow and not too much going on, it's still true to this day, but we've got a lot more cards, and it was true that during the beta format, you didn't have the booster box cards and all this stuff, so it was a very slow thing. Any game that gives you like kind of Hearthstone vibes, where you get one resource a turn, you draw a card a turn, and you go through this like cycle of 1 through 10 resources, is always going to be pretty slow. Especially in Gundam, you can't even search your deck. You have to, any searcher card says look at the top 3 or top 5, and if you hit a card that meets the requirements, aka like a Operation Meteor card, then you can put into your deck, or into your hand, I mean. And the rest of them go to the bottom. So if you hit 5 really good cards that you need to win the game, 4 of them are going to go to the bottom. You're only going to get 1, and that means you might have just sent like everything that you needed to win the game with to the bottom of the deck.
So that's a byproduct of a Bandai card game, and it's like their personal stamp on their card games. It's in the One Piece game, it's in Union Arena, it is in Gundam, it's in all of their games. It's like those searcher cards: search the top 5, search the top 3, search the top 4, random numbers. But I guess it's like a consistency thing, and it kind of helps with theming, I guess, because like one character will search out another one. Same thing in Dragon Ball. But yeah, it's a byproduct of a Bandai game. And I'm not sure if you've played a Bandai game before this, have you?
Just Union Arena with you a little bit.
Yeah, but that was one game.
Yeah, pretty much. No, this is my first Bandai game, and I wish I had gotten into Dragon Ball earlier, but nobody told me about that. And I think we're on set like 17 or 27. I don't even know.
I think Fusion World is out though. It's if you want to get into, but it's a little bit more basic than Masters.
Unfortunately, nobody plays it near me. But Gundam's popping off, so that's why I'm in Gundam right now.
Yeah.
Because I can actually go play at my locals every single week, 2 or 3 times, and have fun with it.
I do want to just give a quick shout out to Lala Luna. And he shouted us out back. He does these unboxings on his stream, and he sells his cards. And it's on Whatnot, and he kind of just interacts with everybody. And he's got a really good crew. I've been in a lot of his streams already, and it gets it popping. There's a lot of people in there at all times. He streams every day, right? Pretty much.
Yeah, he streams like 3-4 times a week. He's like the king of Gundam, the biggest Gundam collector pretty much in America, and he's got pretty much everything. Gundam and Dragon Ball are what he sells and auctions off. And if you want Gundam packs in the States, You know, he does like 3 for 27 or something. He's got any beta cards if you want, Japanese, the beta boxes, booster boxes, you know, arsenal base and other like collector items.
And I really wouldn't care to do this if he wasn't such a sweetheart. And yeah, I just really appreciate the guy. So, Lala Luna, love you, kid. Keep doing what you're doing. We're behind you 100%. Coach, we're going to talk about ratios today. It is something that I think a lot of people struggle with. How many of one card to put in their deck and why they want to put more than one card in their deck. But you obviously have way more experience with card games than I do, so maybe you can give us a little bit of a schooling, if you will, on, you know, the ratios in card games.
Yeah, so every card game is slightly different because it's based on like how many cards in your deck. Can you search your deck for cards? Can you, you know, is there a mulligan system? Gundam's got a unique mulligan system. And so the ratios really depend on, you know, the game that you're playing. Yu-Gi-Oh is different. Yu-Gi-Oh you can play a one of something and it's actually useful because you can go search for it, or you draw so many cards that it actually is very impactful. And they'll even limit cards in Yu-Gi-Oh down to 1, so you can only play one of something because it's so good or so powerful. So just taking that into account, if you play a one of something in Gundam, it's not going to be the same because of many reasons. One is being a shield system where that card might be in the shield and then you can never get it. So unfortunate for you. There are no searchers, but one ofs are still very strong. So let's start there. A one of in Gundam. Number one, a one of is basically a very niche tech piece. Okay, that's pretty much what it is. Now, how do you run a one of in Gundam particularly? Number one, a one of, in my opinion, almost does not exist in Gundam, and the biggest reason for that is because the shield area exists. If the shield area did not exist, you could actually have a higher chance of drawing into that at some point in the game. But because the shield area exists, if you play a one of like, I don't know, some Victory Gundam or some big Gundam like, you know, Death Scythe, and you play a one of it, it could just be in your shield area and then you'll never see it. It'll go to the graveyard, it'll be at the, you know, you just won't get to have a chance to actually get that card. And you can't find it by drawing cards. So the only way you can get it is by playing a base and hoping that you get it with the base hit. So one ofs are very hard. One of the ways to get around this is you can play a one of Witch and the Bride or a one of Unforeseen Incident. The reason for this is because it's got the burst mechanic, which means even in the shield area or in your deck, it will still activate as long as you hit it off the top of the shield area or you draw into it. It's going to have a chance to play and affect the game state. So that's how you want to look at one ofs. If you can actually make use of it and it's actually potent in no matter what, then you can play it. The other thing is, this is kind of complicated. The other way to use one ofs is a card like the Path to Victory or Defeat. Okay, this is something that maybe experienced card players understand a lot more than the casual or semi-competitive players. A Path to Victory in your deck that is a one of acts like a 5th copy or basically an extra copy of any other card that you might want. So let's say that you are running in my wing deck. Let's say I'm running 3 Wing Zeros and I'm running 3 Death Scythes. Okay, the Path to Victory kind of acts like a 4th copy of the Wing Zero or the Death Scythe, because it's going to go and find you that card when you need it. Now, it might not hit it at all times, but it's going to go get you it. In other card games where you have searchers, if you could just search your deck for that card, a lot of times in Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Magic the Gathering, you would play less Zeros, less Death Scythes, because when you need that card in particular, you can go find it with this, and then the ratios matter. For example, maybe you only play 2 Wing Zeros, and you only play 2 Wing Gundams. Depending on what the situation asks of you, or whether you already have one of them in your hand, you can go and find the one that you need for the circumstance, and pretty much, you know, it's available. So if you have a searcher card or a card that goes and looks at the top card of your deck, like Path to Victory or Defeat, you can pretty much count that as a 4th Death Scythe or 4th Wing Zero. So if you're having a hard time fitting everything into one deck, think of the Path to Victory and Defeat like a searcher, and it counts as an additional copy of that. So that is a one of you can also run. Okay, so that pretty much sums up one ofs in this game, I think. If there's any other questions regarding to that, maybe I missed something, you can drop it in the comment section. I'll get to it. Let's get to two ofs. two ofs is a card that I think is the bare minimum. If you're gonna run a card in Gundam, you better be running two of it because you're never gonna see the one of. Okay, the two of means that it's a good card. It's something that you do want to run, like Unforeseen or Striker Pack. And when it comes up, it's gonna be good. If it doesn't come up, you're only running two of it, so it is what it is. That's pretty much sums up the two of. Okay, it's a bare minimum requirement of you putting a card into your deck. So if you're gonna put it into the deck, you better have two, unless it follows the steps that I just provided for you guys and how to play a one of something. Now we're gonna move on to the main one that you'll see a lot of is three ofs. Okay, so three ofs is pretty much anything that's two of, but you bump it up to three of because it's a very good card. Now the difference between a three of and a four of is pretty much very simple. A three of is very good that you want to run three of something. It's basically a staple in your deck, like Wing Gundam, Wing Zero, Death Scythe, Kshatriya, anything that's really, really strong. A four of, though, is what you need and must find to win the game. There are plenty of times when I play 4 Wing Zeros in my deck, 4 Kshatriyas, 4 of anything, and I will not see it, okay? If you play a 3 of that same card, aka Wing Zero, and you do not see it, you're going to lose the game pretty much on the spot because you needed to get out of certain matchups, circumstances, and your opponent's probably going to be playing around you having a Wing Zero in your hand. So even if you draw, let's say 2 copies of that card into your hand, no big deal. Most of you guys are playing, you know, Overflowing Affection. You can discard it and play one, and it's really powerful to play one after the other. So that's the main difference between running a 3 of something and a 4 of. A 4 of is, I need to see this card no matter what in the game for me to even have a chance of winning it, or it's that good. That if I'd rather see it and multiple copies of it than not see it, because I will lose the game. A 3 of is essentially just, hey, I want to be playing this card. It's very, very good. For example, Death Scythe is a great version of this, where you need 3 Death Scythes. Kshatriya is kind of lingering around the same thing, where you run a 3 of or a 4 of depending on the deck. I find that if it's the best card in your deck or an extremely powerful card that the deck is built around, please run 4 ofs, and you're going to have a higher consistency of hitting that card, and then you can adjust if you see too many of them and whatnot, especially if you're running white with overflowings. Too many people run, you know, 2 ofs or 3 ofs or something when they really, really should be upping it, because they need multiple of it, and then they complain that they don't see a Wing Zero, pretty much. So that kind of sums up the ratios right there.
Mind if I ask you a quick question, Coach? Is what are like your qualifications and why you're able to like tell people how many of a certain card to run? Like where do you get all this information from?
So me being the voice of reason is I give you like logical conclusions as to why I think what I think, right? I don't just give you, hey, you should be playing 3 of these or 4 of these because that's what the top guy's doing, that's what this guy said or whatever. I give you a breakdown of why I think so, and then if you come up with your own conclusion of, hey, Coach said this, I do not like what he said here because of this reasoning, I might even agree with you on that statement, but there always got to be a reasoning behind it. So I just gave most people playing this game, I think most of our listeners right now, so you guys are probably more casual, semi-competitive, going your locals, you know, the new type challenges coming out. You want to be as best as you can and maybe just up your game by a little bit here or there, change ratio. That's pretty much what it is. Just want to be upgrading you to think about it a little bit different or give you an easy access. Almost like, hey, I tell you, if you want, do you want, you know, diesel, premium, or this type of gas? Okay, you go to the gas station, your car takes a specific type of gas, and I'm trying to give you that easy option. So you don't have to think about it. You just go to it. You're like, hey, Coach said this is a blueprint to follow. Okay, so you don't have to stick to it, but it's a blueprint so you can make better decisions yourself. In terms of what gave me this insight, well, number one, I think the biggest thing is chess. Okay, now we do play a game where we can play 4 copies of something, but let's go back to Yu-Gi-Oh, one of the biggest card games, and the ratio of 3. Okay, the ratio of 3 is big, and you're playing 1 ofs, 2 ofs, or 3 ofs. So going to Yu-Gi-Oh, you really have to think about, do you run, how many copies of each card do you run, and do you Tekken cards. A 1 of in Yu-Gi-Oh is very big. You're going to see lots of 1 ofs, lots of 2 ofs in decks to really put everything into this 40 card deck, and it cannot go more than that. Back in the old days, you would not want to go to 41, 42, because the less cards you play, the more consistency you have hitting the cards that you want. So if Gundam was not a 50 card game and we did not need shields, we'll be playing 40 card decks, and our decks would be much more consistent of what we see when we see it, and we wouldn't have to play all these like filler cards that we honestly don't need. The other thing is, I'm gonna make an analogy to chess pretty much, or just talk about chess here a little bit. I do Warhammer coaching as well. Okay, and in Warhammer, the game is built around this rule called the rule of 3. You can never have more of 3 of something in Warhammer unless it says otherwise, which is basically just battle line units, aka your normal basic troops. So the reason why there's a limit of 3 of in Warhammer or Yu-Gi-Oh is because 3 is enough, and 3 is also like sometimes too much. So you always take the best card in your deck and you ram 3 of it into your deck immediately. Or you build your army list in Warhammer, you take 3 of the best unit, then you take 3 of the best next unit, and you keep doing that till your deck is made. It's one of the things that I hate about games like Bandai games. You see a lot of decks out there that run 4, 4, 4. If you pull up a deck list right now on anything, you're gonna see 90% of the deck, if not the whole deck, is just 4 ofs of every single card. If the deck is playing it, it's a 4 of. I find that ridiculous, and I actually hate seeing decks like that. I want you to have 3 ofs, 4 ofs, 2 ofs, even a 1 of, so you can have better ratios, and actually somebody can look at that deck and be like, oh, you actually put some thought into this and made a good deck, and there's reasons why you're running, you know, whether it just be you just like having more bases, you like having more of X unit, or maybe your local meta plays more blue-white, so you want to have more death sites than Wing Gundams, right? Changing the ratios around, and some decks even play 2 Wing Gundams, or no, sorry, 2 death sites, and like, you know, 2 death sites and like 2 duos or 3 duos, and just having those ratios go up and down. And there's a whole like plan why they're doing it, fitting in more cards, and the meta game and what they predict might be, you know, the meta at a very big tournament. You can see this in Garrett's deck, you know, talking with Garrett, his YouTube channel, and he won the Eggman event, I believe, and he only ran like 2 death sites, and then he ran 2 of the smaller death sites and so on, I think. So you always want to be out there looking at the ratios you're playing and why you're playing sets ratios. So those are the games that I pretty much play and why I think how I do. And every single one of the games in deck building games, you really want to dig deep into what you need, why you need it. And maybe 3 of is too much. Maybe you just want to run 2 ofs. Maybe you only need that card in half the games, and maybe in those half games you only need like 1 of them, so you play 2 of something.
Damn. All right, Coach, lot to take in, but this is obviously why I asked the questions. Ooh, because excuse me, you have a lot of insight on this stuff, on this crap, as my wife would call it, but it's stuff we're into, and it's and to become better players, you know, we got to know this stuff. And really, something you stuck out to me before was that you kind of brought up chess, and then you kind of you started talking away from that, but I think you had some, like, a point that you wanted to make, and I don't know, I kind of wanted to get further insight. If you had a point to make on it, maybe I'm overlooking it, but is there any comparison to chess with this stuff? Because it feels like there's a lot of strategy behind both games.
Yeah, so in chess, you look at the ratios, everything is a 2 of except for the king and the queen. Okay, obviously very powerful pieces. One wins the game, one loses the game, pretty much. You have to ask yourself, why are there only 2 of everything else, like the rooks, the bishops, and all your power cards are 2 of? But then there's like 8 pawns. Okay, the reason why there's a 2 of everything is so that you can use the piece how you want to, but you got to be careful with it. The problem in a lot of games, if I just told you, hey, there's no limit, you could run as many of something as you want. Okay, you can run 10 Lifrits, 10 Zwarts, build your deck how you want. There are no limits. There is so many deck building errors that would occur, like huge amounts. If people playing so many of the same cards, it would be ridiculous. And also be game breaking, because if there's something too powerful, you just play the same thing. You just be like, I'm going to run all these 1 cost cards, the same one, 24/7, just win the game. Wouldn't be fun. In chess, you have to pick and choose which piece are you going to use. What type of strategy are you going to go for? Are you going to go for knight attacks? Are you going to go for bishop angles? You're going to play with the rooks more so? Is your opening telling you to, you know, play a certain way based on what opening you do? And, you know, is your deck telling you to do that? Are you playing a more aggressive white deck? Are you playing a blocker deck? And based off that, you're going to have a different strategy. Are you playing into an aggressive deck or a defensive deck? Based on that, you're not going to need blockers against a defensive deck. You're not going to need, you know, you can use your overflowings and discard all your Zords, all your Lifrits, and be like, hey, let's get rid of those blockers because we're not going to need them. We need our big end game bosses. We need to get to the power cards. board control, and so on. And then against aggro, you're like, hey, I'm not gonna discard my base. I need that base for the end game. I need my blockers early. I don't need that Death Sight in my hand. I don't need the Wing Zero in my hand this early into the game. I need to go find my blockers quickly so I don't lose the game too fast. So in chess, you can use anything you want. You can use the bishops to attack, you can use the knights to attack, you can use the rooks to attack, even the pawns, right? But you need to come up with your own strategy, and you only have a limit of 2. So if you use that Death Sight early, you're not getting it later. If you use that bishop to trade early, you're not getting it later. So your game plan, your macro decisions better resolve around the pieces you have left on the board. So if you know that your macro, your winning strategy is going to be a end game or mid game like queen, bishop, knight attack, something like this, then you can really throw away your pawns for more aggression. You can really, maybe you throw over your knights so your bishops and queens can get good attacks in. Or the rooks, for example. You want to go to the really end game and make a, like rook queen attack and win the game through those pieces, then throw away your bishop, throw away your knights, and so on. This also goes into like, are you playing on the white spaces or the black spaces, right? So putting that chess into Warhammer or into trading card games is important because somebody just gave you, 4 of something into your deck for free. You really want to think about what's the best way to use this. Am I playing 4 of something because I'm using it inefficiently? And when you limit yourself to playing a certain amount of a specific card, you have to use it in the right circumstance. And in Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic the Gathering, if you are playing a 1 of or a 2 of something, when you draw that card, you need to save it for the right moment to win you the game. You cannot play it because you're like, oh, I have 3 more coming in my deck, no problem. It's like, no, I only have 1 of these, and it's going to be used in the best case scenario to make me win the game and to throw my opponent off. And this also goes into like, I play Flesh and Blood as well. People, if you net deck, people are going to know your ratios. Okay, if you copy the deck off the internet, or if you bring a very meta deck, they're going to be like, oh, you're playing a wing? You're probably playing 4 Lifrits. You're probably playing 4 Zords. You're probably playing 3 to 4 Wing Zeros. But then, maybe your deck, you made decisions in your deck building stage to say, hey, everybody knows that people play so many Wing Gundams. They're always scared of Wing Gundam. They're always scared of Wing Gundam Zeros. What if I took away my ratios of Wing Gundams down from 4 to 2, and I got my Death Sights from 4 to 3, and then I fit in some other cards, like maybe early game cards, maybe something else, more AL strikes, more blockers, or maybe like, some big blocker at the end game, like Freedom Gundam. You're going to throw your opponent off because they might be sitting there thinking, oh, there's only 1 or 2 Wing Gundams in the graveyard. He probably has another one, right? He just got his hero from his shield area. He's going to play that Wing Gundam because it looks like he's trying to play for it, and there's like these feints in the game. But you know that you're not playing anymore. All your Wing Gundams are gone to the graveyard. They're used up. You have no more left in the deck, but your opponent is going to think that you still have more. Because a lot of decks are going to be running 4 copies of it. But your deck is different. Okay, so these are important things to note. And why good players say, I'm going to run 4 of something or 3 of something. And why I'm going to run only 2. I want my opponent to be afraid of it. And I'm never going to play it because it's a key card in my deck. And when I do play it, my opponent's going to be like, oh, of course he had it. But like, he doesn't know I only had that 1 in the entire game. There are no more because the other one went to the graveyard from the shield area early into it. But my opponent was scared of it the whole time. Okay, so that goes into deck building and chess and all this stuff.
All right, man. A lot of food for thoughts, but it's definitely why people like listening to you. It's why they tune into the podcast. And even if they don't necessarily agree with it, it's just good to get someone else's take on it. Not to change gears too drastically here, but the League of Legends card game that's going to be coming out, otherwise known as Riftbound, has it's a different deck build. And interestingly enough, it's like the smallest deck that I've ever seen. And you are allowed to have a minimum of 40 cards in your deck. One of those cards being a champion card of your legend. So you have your legend, whoever you're playing, let's just say Kaisa, and then you have a card that kind of stands off to the side. It's part of your deck, but it has its own place on the game mat when the game starts, and it's essentially like an extra card in your hand. And
like commander.
It's like a commander, except when a commander dies, it goes back to that zone. When your champion dies, the champion unit that you play just goes back to your discard pile. Or if it gets put out into the field and it gets returned to your hand, it'll go back to your hand. It's essentially just an extra card in your hand until you play it. It's kind of like protected in that zone until you play it, and at which point it just becomes a regular unit. With League of Legends, there's a different thing though, with Riftbound, I should say, is that, and it was also the same thing with Star Wars Unlimited, and this is something that I like. You can only have up to 3 of any one card in your deck. Whereas most card games, a lot of Bandai's especially, are all about 4 ofs. And obviously with greater amount of cards, with a greater amount of consistency of cards, you're more likely to see that card and whatnot. Also going to spend a lot more money. But if, in some of these games, when there's 3 cards, there's a difference between Riftbound and Star Wars Unlimited. Star Wars Unlimited also had 3 ofs. But the minimum deck requirement was 50. In League, it's 40. And then one of those, it's actually a little smaller. It's 39 because one of those cards happens to be your champion unit. So you start the game with 39 cards most of the time. The best decks are 39 card decks, basically, which with a lot of 3 ofs. But I notice a lot of Riftbound decks have 1 ofs and 2 ofs. They're not uncommon to see, with even some really good cards. Now in Riftbound, you're allowed to bring, in Riftbound, whatever legend you're playing, you could bring their champion equivalent as a unit, put them into play into your champion zone, and they have, each legend in the game as of right now has 2 different legends or 2 different champions you can pick from. We did discuss this a little bit, we touched on it in the last podcast, but we were discussing how the champions, of course, are going to be the strongest types of units out there. You know what, Coach? They're actually not that powerful. They are. A lot of the champions are really strong. But what I was going to say is there are a lot of decks running one of that champion. And it's only because you actually have to play at least one champion in your deck. And it's the champion equivalent of your legend. You have to put them into play. And some people choose to just build a deck, put one of those champions into play just to have it there, because that's the deck building constraints, and then they don't include any more versions of it. When I first started playing this game, I had no idea why you would do that, because the champion, it basically follows what the deck wants to do, trying to complete, so to speak. And I think that, in Riftbound, it's fair to say that those champions are built around the legends. They want to do something. They have an objective that they're trying to reach, and those champions help them do that, but a lot of people choose not to include them. And one of them is, well, I shouldn't say in the Kai'Sa deck. Kai'Sa's running 3 ofs because Kai'Sa has an insanely strong card. It's probably the best champion out right now is the Kai'Sa champion, but they're not running her other champion. She has 2 champions. They only run one of her, one version, and they run 3 ofs of it, but other than that, I guess Lee Sin, I guess there's certain, but Volibear, for instance, people don't really run a lot of Volibears. They run the champion Volibear. That's it. They don't put any more Volibears in their deck. And I think it touches on a lot of what you were saying, and it comes to a consistency thing, right? But it also comes to the fact of playing a game enough and experiencing the game enough, you can start to really feel out what works and what doesn't, and start throwing out things that don't work. And in Riftbound, people have already found, the game's out in China right now, but people have already found out that it's not worth having 3 of a specific card just because it seems like it's the move to do. Sometimes the right move is, and the one that ends up benefiting you the most, is something that seems kind of counterproductive or counter intuitive, and yet it ends up being the right move. At least in Riftbound it is. I don't play. I get asked all the time, do you play Gundam? Because we do the podcast together. I don't personally. I've played it and I like it. I just haven't invested in Gundam, other than the podcast with Coach. But I thought I would just give a little bit of my spiel about Riftbound, because I love the game, and I hope that some people watching will try it out and enjoy it.
I think many people are going to try out Riftbound, and the champion system in that game is unique, but I mean, it's kind of like Commander, but it's unique. The reason why some of the decks run only one champion is because, for example, Lee Sin. I play Lee Sin, and I don't have time to play a second Lee Sin. All my resources are going into one card, which is the one Lee Sin I play, and then my entire job is to keep it alive. kind of like Ari. Like once she's on the board, your entire job is to keep her alive because she ramps up few points and you win the game. Lee Sin, same thing. Once he's like beefed up, and all your resources are going into buffing him up and keeping him alive, you don't need another one. But if he dies, you essentially lose the game on the spot. And that's why in the earlier days, like people were playing like 2 Aris sometimes, just in case you did lose the first one, you get a second one, and maybe like 2 Lee Sins. But you just need one, and then you have to really plan around, almost like skewing, so that making sure that Lee Sin cannot die, and you negate any card that might kill him or wipe him off the board. And he's like basically a giant beatstick that keeps getting bigger as the game goes on. He keeps holding his position, keeps scoring you points, and essentially you can even return him and ready him up again, send him to the other location, maybe get ganking, and just gives you a bunch of points. And he's kind of your win condition. It's like a solo in like Magic the Gathering. I think I forget what the word it's called, but essentially it's like a character that you build around so that you can do commander damage and win via commander damage. So in Riftbound, there's a few champions or decks that are built around your singular champion hitting the board. Once he's on the board, your entire job is to protect him, and he's going to carry the game. I think, I haven't said carry. In League of Legends, you're supposed to be the carry. The champion that you pick and you as a player are going to carry the game. 1v9, basically, like almost like Marvel. I was supposed to shut down everything, win the game. And in League of Legends, some of these heroes are able to carry the game for you, where they put everything on their back on that singular champion card and carry the game, like Lee Sin or Ari, and are essentially not going to die. And if they die, then you'll probably lose the game. But that might be a cool way. I never thought about it till now, that there's actually carry type champions or carry type decks in Riftbound.
Yeah, that was well put. And we've played a few games together too, where I know firsthand how impossible it feels when you're playing Lee Sin. And for the folks that don't play Riftbound, the game is essentially a point grab. You're just a land grab. You're trying to get points by taking over battlefields. And once Lee Sin kind of gets involved, his job is to just get bigger and bigger and bigger as the game progresses. At one point, he's too big to conquer. And then there are a lot of tricks you can play as the opponent trying to take out Lee Sin. But the thing about Lee Sin and his type of play style is he has a lot of counters to your counters. So he's like doubly hard. He plays in the color green, and in Riftbound, green is all about countering, and playing tricks on your opponents. And Lee Sin is very good at getting big and then keeping himself big and then countering your opponent's plays to get rid of him. And a really strong Lee Sin player sees 2 turns ahead, all the potential things that just to screw up his game plan. And you play him very effectively. Actually, he's kind of your. I think every time he's not really aggro, but I think if I had to summarize what your type of style is, Coach, it usually is aggro. No.
Yeah, he's not really an aggro deck. He's more of a mid-range.
He's like mid-range.
Yeah, he's like kind of mid-range, and then he kind of sits there and then he wins the game automatically. That's not really my style. Now, Lee Sin in League of Legends, I'm a jungler. I mean, I coach the game, all 5 roles, Challenger ×5. But pretty much, in that game, he's a jungler, and I hope that there's more Lee Sins coming out, because, by the way, his alt art looks sick in white. Oh my god, I want that card so bad. If I play Riftbound in person, I'm getting that card. I don't give a fuck. Okay? So, I'm gonna foil my fucking Lee Sin out. And in League of Legends, pretty much, I play him in the jungle, and he is a playmaker, and the jungler is a playmaker. He is more of a playmaker because of, like, the Dragon's Rage card where you can bounce a card, move it to an area, and then he does damage to somebody else. So yeah, that card in League of Legends, that's his ultimate, and he Dragon Rages, kicks you, and if he kicks a dude into another dude, it does damage. They both take damage, and the second guy takes more damage. So I hope that more cards gonna come out, more moving, more jank, and more Lee Sins. More ganking cards, and hopefully Lee Sin becomes a complete monster. I wonder if they're gonna give a card that says, "Hey, play this card, and double your buffs." You know how crazy that would be? Just double your buffs. That'd be amazing for Lee Sin.
So for Lee Sin, yes, of course, because he could actually, but everyone else can only have 1 buff. He kind of has that card, though. No, that card kind of
has
exists.
it with the United We Stand. I think it's called the Zen card.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? The funny thing is, in Lee Sin, in this game we've seen like multiple abilities come out for certain champions, I believe. Lee Sin's other cards have not come out, so his like W that heals and shields him has not came out. There's in League of Legends. Okay, if I had to make a Riftbound card for him right now, one of his most used abilities is his W, which is, I forget what it's called, but it's essentially a shield. But not only is it a shield, he jumps towards you and then puts a shield on you and himself. So imagine they release a card that says, it's like during the showdown, you would play this card, he would jump over to a different area to protect his ally, gaining the tank keyword, or just giving you both a shield area where you both get buffed up, and then he would just, beat the shit out of whoever was there trying to hurt his ally, essentially. And that's a card that probably will come out because that's a big thing in League of Legends. Lee Sin jumps around protecting his allies, making sick plays, and then kicking people over to their own teammates and annihilating them, or into his own allies so they can just beat the shit out of them and win the game.
I love that you have like the... See, I don't know that much about the actual game, so the cards to me don't tell a story like they tell you. But from what I heard, they're very accurate to the lore of the game. The cards kind of do what you would think they would do.
Yeah, they're definitely trying to, especially the ultimates. Riot's gonna definitely try to push it so the people Riot wants you to play all of their games. It's almost like Blizzard, where you jump into Blizzard, you're playing Hearthstone, you're playing World of Warcraft, you're playing everything, right? And so you really are, when you're playing a Riot game, you're playing everything. There's a new fighting game coming out from Riot Games. That's going to have a lot of League of Legends characters fighting each other. So that's going to be awesome.
Well, what is it?
It's called like 2XKO, I think. It's the Riot's new fighting game. It's a like Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter style.
Oh, I actually seen gameplay.
It's going to be a 2v2.
It's League of Legends, though?
League of Legends, yep.
Oh my god! So I saw
awesome game.
I saw gameplay of that. I thought it was being trolled. Oh my god, that's
a real game. That's a real game coming out pretty soon, and I'm very excited for it. And it's gonna have a 2v2 system too, so if you and your buddy can link up and start taking over, and there's combos and stuff. It's gonna be great.
I'm watching gameplay of it right now. I'm watching Darius and Ari versus...
Yeah, exactly. You see their abilities too, like...
Yeah, it looks crazy. Versus Yasuo and... what's his name? The time guy.
Echo,
yeah. Wow, this looks crazy. Wow, this looks really good, too. This looks so well done.
Oh, it's gonna be so clean, yeah. It's gonna be awesome. Big.
About time a good game like this comes out, man.
Riot's taking over. Card games, video games, everything. Fighting games, anything competitive. Riot Games is there.
Oh, go.
Yeah, so if you guys are with us still, I appreciate you guys. Make sure you guys drop a comment. Tell us what you guys liked, what you guys didn't like. If you guys have decks, by the way, I had an idea. One Punch. People in other games, especially strategy games, have like a deck review, where they ask their viewers to submit decks, and then we live review it, or like in a podcast style, video style, and we adjust decks on the fly. Now we're not big enough that we're doing live streams where everybody submits their decks and everybody just views it and we do it live. But that's an idea in the future, that if you have a deck, you need adjustments, either find me in the Gundam Discord. It's my full-time job, so if you do want actual hands-on coaching or any insights like that, and talking points and how to play, hands-on, hey, don't play this card, play this card, how to turn by turn get through the games, like a lot of my clients, Sonic the Snake, doing some work. Brewholm just won his locals. Our local guys, the crew went and won 2 tournaments back to back, thanks to me helping them out with cards and stuff. And then everybody else, right? Echo's been doing really good work on the Discord, just smashing people. We're trying to hit that 80 to 85% win rate on our decks that we're trying to play pretty much in the game right now. And one of the things I want to talk about, if you guys are still with us, is bases. Okay, so this again goes to the ratio concept, but bases. The new type challenge is coming out, and one of the big things is, hey, how many bases do I run? I see all these people playing bases from 0 to 6 to whatever. The meta around bases has gone up and down like crazy. At one point, people were running 8 bases. Then we came down to 4. Then people started running, like, once the aggro deck came out, people started being like, oh, you know what, maybe we don't even need bases. Let's just run like 1 or 0 bases. And now we're back up to like 4 to like 6 bases. Right? So what is the actual ratio that you want? Well, number one, we go back to my idea of, hey, if our idea is we need to see a base in the game, it's that good that it saves you, you play it, it saves you. You're trying to hit a base out of the shield area for sure every single game, or at least play one. That by default puts us in the 4 category. Because if you do not see a base, you're probably going to lose a game because you're trying to find one. And if you're only running 3 ofs, that means you probably don't need it too much. And if you're running 4 ofs, you definitely want to see one. Following that, we're going to up it to 5. Why are we going to up it to 5? Because against aggro decks in the game right now, and if you're scared of aggro or your deck is not fine-tuned to beat aggro consistently, we really do not want to walk up to the table, sit down to our opponent, say good luck, have fun, and then they steamroll us in 4 turns because they're playing aggro. And we're like, oh man, I didn't see a single base. I didn't see any of my cards. Well, up that to 5 because we are now saying that we need to see this card at least once a game. Okay, we're gonna see once a game for sure. We're gonna see 2 a game most likely, and then me personally run 6. If you never ever want to lose your aggro or up your chances to like basically beating aggro almost every single time, up it to 6. Run 6 bases. Which one are you running? That's up to you, right? But run 6 bases as a defensive deck, and it's going to give you a lot easier time. Try it out and see how it works out for you. Is it too many? Is it too less? Right? And then if you're running overflowings in your decks as well, which you probably are, if you're playing a defensive deck, run 6 bases, run the overflowings, and then be careful about when do you discard the base. Do you discard it early? If you discard it early, your opponent now knows that you have an extra base. If you discard it early, maybe you needed that base in the later stage into the game to keep you alive, essentially. So be aware of what decision you make. The decision point in the game is very crucial because the game is around RNG. You know, you can lose games just because you don't see a wing zero. You can lose games because you draw all of your pilots, or like you don't hit a single burst. I played 30 bursts in my deck. Some games I don't even see a single burst in my shield area. It's kind of ludicrous when you think about it. The odds of that happening, even if I draw, 5-6 cards with no burst in my hand, probably should be a burst in my shield area, but sometimes I just don't get it. So the game's very swingy, and if you play a lot of games, you know that the game is, you're not going to go to your locals and you're going to win every single game. It is a little bit luck dependent, and you're trying to up your odds of winning by playing as good as you can, as perfect as you can. And then when you lose, it's all right. There's going to be another new type challenge, another local tournament that you're going to go into. And you're just trying to make the correct decisions and learn every single time you go play. So start at 6 bases if you're very defensive. Lower it to 5. I think 5 is the bare minimum right now if you're trying to play a defensive wing deck or a blue-white deck. Start with 5 bases and then up it to 6 if you still want to be. If you do not want to lose to aggro at all, up it to 6, and try it out. And then just understand how to play it, when to use it, when to throw it away, and so on.
That you know all this shit. I don't know. I just love that you know all this stuff.
Good. I do know all this stuff. Effort I put into this. This is my full-time job. I need to make sure everybody out there. People don't know this, okay? When I coach Warhammer, I'm only charging. Let's say, okay, so Warhammer is a big game. People who play Warhammer have money. People who play card games generally have money as well. And if you're getting coaching, you probably have some disposable income. People pay me, let's say, $500 for 8 hours of my time over the course of a month or whatever. So in Warhammer, there's so many layers that I have to go into, and behind the scenes, I feel like it's like a teacher job. I wanted to be a teacher when I grew up. I'm coaching, essentially being a teacher, but different, right? And I put in a lot more hours than what you get in the coaching. If I play 500 games of, let's say, like you wanted to play, what, you want to play Lux, right? If you were going to get coached by me for a month's worth of coaching, I would go put in, imagine, a month worth of hours for you. Like if you were to play for a month straight, I'm going to go in, I'm going to put in a month. I'm going to put in 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 games in 1 week before we sit down and we're done with our sessions. Okay. So like if One Punch was to get coached by me, I'll put in literally 500 games on Lux before our 1 month of our coaching was over, essentially. So by the end of the month, after our 4 sessions, I would have 500 games under my belt, and I'll be giving him all of that insight that he could never get because he's doing the podcast. He's editing videos for his job. He's doing family stuff, whatever. I'm putting in 500 fucking hours of my life to give you something. So you're paying me basically, think about that, $1 an hour, because I'm spending 500 fucking hours, and you're paying me $1 an hour. But you don't get that. You only get me when I sit down with you, and then you're like, oh, it's it's like basically $40 an hour US to have an hour with me. But that hour you get out of me is basically gonna, save you so much time. It's gonna save you endless amounts of time. And a lot of my clients that get, Warhammer or TCG, they don't even think about these things, and you're not gonna think about it because it took me, years of experience. It took me with the way that I think about the game, the way that I analyze things, and I'm open-minded about everything. And I'm playing all the decks at once. I'm basically like it's like upgrading your iPhone from like fucking iPhone 1 to like iPhone, what are we at, 17 right now? Like you're going from iPhone 1 to iPhone 17 immediately, and you're paying like an X amount. So it's definitely worth it. And I put in all those hours. I make all the analysis and stuff. And I'm basically almost like a, what is it called? I'm like a refiner. I'm a high grade fucking refinement plant, where if you go through me, you're getting the best quality of something you can get. Okay. It's all refined. You're not having to sit there and think about, do I do this? Do I do this? Like spending a whole week before you enter the tournament. Then you realize you forgot something. It's like, no, you're getting all of that in one go in like an hour. Instead of you wasting a whole week of your time, I'll waste a week of mine times 10, and then you're going to get a better version of everything, and all that insight.
So you really do put in the extra. I think a lot of the work that goes on behind the scenes is truly what makes or breaks somebody in terms of their quality. I think the most important thing is usually the stuff that goes unseen, and what you're saying is basically how much work you put into before you ever even get involved with somebody. Actually,
Exactly.
yeah. So I really respect that, man. And I get that from you. That was one of the first things I saw about you, is how much you committed to the people that you that invest in you. Which is why I invested in you, Coach.
I'm a big guy about I cannot sit down and tell somebody that this is how it is when I'm unfamiliar with it or unsure. I might give him like, hey, this is probably how it works. But when I say that, I'm like, hey, don't worry about it. I'm gonna go right now. Like not right now, but like after the session, I'm gonna go work on this hands-on. I'm gonna come back with you with the results basically for free, because I couldn't answer that question for you. But 99.99% of the time I can answer all the questions, because I put in so much hour, and everything has to be up to date. And this is one of the biggest things, right? When I talk to Echo in the Discord, so shout out to Echo Eternity, I talked to him about stuff, and he's like, hey man, why is nobody playing this card? Why is everybody so slow to update their decks for the meta? I'm like, bro, they're still going through the process. Their mind does not work like mine. They cannot skip fucking jump everywhere and go bypass everything, right? You guys have been listening to the podcast. I was doing college math in the first grade. That means I was like 5 years old when you guys were like still learning how to do fucking the alphabet and shit. And I'm in college doing college math, and it took you fucking till you were 18 years old to hit college. And I was like fucking 6. That's 12 years of life, like 12 years gap that I was like gapping everybody by. And at that point I could have had, maybe a college degree, whatever, been doing shit, not doing that. Instead I'm coaching this, and the same thing with card games. I'm just going to give you the information. It's going to be well refined. It's like a 3D printer, bro. I have a highest quality 3D printer you can get, and I'm printing you the good stuff faster. Everything is good. You go through the process yourself. You're going to hit many blunders. You're going to learn, but that learning comes a lot faster when I teach you how to do mathematics, when I teach you how to do, how to read English or whatever, the right way, the correct way. And that's a big thing in anything in life, is you want to start people young. You want to feed them the information and the correct thing about it, and then tell them why it's correct, why it's incorrect, and what to watch out for, so that when they grow up with that good fundamentals built into them, they don't make the mistakes that they should be making, and they skip all of that. Otherwise, they're going to go into a card game, and then they're going to be like learning and going up and down, like making, all these wrong decisions to finally get to a point where they're like, no, I'm final on this. This is my final thing. I'm going to stick on to this thing from like 10 years of experience. Well, your 10 years of experience was also half-assed garbage, because you had to go through that process. That's horrible. Why are you becoming, let's say, a millionaire at the age of 50 when you
do
could
along from what we actually have. All right, so that's going to do it for today's podcast. I want to thank everybody for checking out the podcast as usual. I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to leave a like, comment, do all that fun stuff. I know we didn't get to your comments this episode, but what Coach said still stands. What we want you to do is go into the comments section and just post a link to your deck profile so that we could take a look at your deck. Let us know what it is that you're trying to build, and Coach is going to pretty much break all. I don't know, depending on how many we get. Maybe only one person does it, maybe 3 people, maybe 10 people do it. We're only going to pick 3, and we'll go through the decks in the next episode, and Coach will kind of break it 1 to 3. Well, it depends. Like, we'll do it and see how long it takes Coach to kind of react for it. We'll try to get to 3 of them, though. I think that would make for maybe the whole podcast will be 3 of them total. So
yeah, maybe we'll do that,
and that's all it'll be. But leave a link to your deck in the comments, and just a little thing of, and just give like a little summary of what you're trying to do and what you're like. I don't know if this is if this is the right ratio. I don't know if I want to include this card. Just like something in there that Coach can work with, so that when he goes through, kind of works with the deck, he can get a good idea of what to cut and why he thinks that would be a benefit to your deck. And we'll try not to harp on things for too long, because Coach and I both have a habit of gabbing, if you will, overdoing, yapping, if you will. So we're going to try not to do that, but I think that gives us something to look forward to for the next episode. Coach, do you have any last remarks before we sign out for the night?
Not much. I know new type challenge is coming out. Hopefully you guys do well into that. Just stick to the decks you guys have been playing. I know there's a lot of YouTube videos coming out being like, Wing is the best deck, this is the best deck, blah, blah, blah. I do think that playing a white blocker deck with late game capability is the best thing to play in this type of format. But if you've been practicing aggro deck, blue-green, even Academy and so on, stick to the thing that works for you and go into it, have fun. And if you're not one of the guys who's like, my deck has a 75 to 85% win rate, then you're probably not going to win anyway. Just go in. The game is very random. You can walk in with the worst deck and still win it just because your opponent bricks 5 times in a row. So don't be too afraid to just go play, but stick to the thing that you're going to have the most fun with. Okay, I coach a lot of clients in many competitive games. If you just aren't feeling the deck anymore and you're like, oh, I'm going to go in, I'm going to have a bad time, right? Then don't play. Just try something new. You're going to probably lose the event. That's okay. Just try something new so you have a good time going to the event in the first place so you don't feel bad about it. And if you're actually trying to win the event, go in with the deck that you've had the most reps with, and just be like, hey man, no matter what happens, I might not be playing the meta deck, but I'm playing a deck that I'm very well versed in, I'm used to. And a lot of people at that event are probably net decking, so they're not going to have the reps or the experience to play the wing deck correctly. It's one of the hardest decks to play, and they're not going to be well equipped to handle everything. They might use the death sites early, might use it later, might not draw it, whatever happens. They're not going to know how to play it. So you're going to have an edge on them with that. And then you can still run them on with aggro and so on, Academy, Zap.
All right, and that'll do it. Thanks again for tuning in to this week's. I'm your host, One Punch.
And I'm Coach.